guys, I've been working on this vlog since November. It is now the eve of May 1st, and I'm finally done. Started this vlog sometime in November of 2022 with the intention of reading the 3 Emily Henry romance novels, starting with Book Lovers, moving on to Beach Read, and ending with People We Meet on Vacation. Well, this vlog ended up taking me a lot longer to complete than I initially anticipated, which is a good thing because it brought us to April with the release of Happy Place. Now this vlog includes all 4 of Emily Henry's romance novels. I'm super excited for you guys to watch this. Like I said, I've been working on it for a really long time. It's been a journey, to say the least. Fair warning, since this started in November, it went through the winter, including Christmas, so there's a little bit of Christmas content in here. I had a lot of fun with this vlog. I hope you guys enjoy it, and let's get to it. I'm about a little over 100 pages in Book Lovers right now. I'm not as blown away as I was hoping to be. I've met Nora and Libby and Charlie. We're in the small town in North Carolina that they went to visit. Oh my gosh, what's it called? I don't have the book with me right now. Like Sunshine Falls or something like that. So yeah, I don't know. The relationship between Charlie and Nora is kind of strange to me. Like they hate each other. I don't really know what I think. Let's just say I'm not super impressed thus far. I'm currently at the library. I just dropped my kids off with their dad. They're going to be with him for a couple days. It's Saturday afternoon. Now that I have some free time, I have some books that I'm returning to the library that I did not read. I'm going to look and see if there's anything else that I might want to grab. I'm thinking not, because my TBR for November and December is pretty well set. I do have to go to Target. I'm sure I'll look at books there. I'm not planning on buying anything, but we'll see what happens. And of course, I have to get a Starbucks. Okay, yeah, there wasn't really much available that I felt like reading. There were 3 that I was kind of interested in, but I'm actually leaving this coming Friday to go to Arizona for Thanksgiving and my boyfriend's birthday. So I don't really want to travel with physical books. I might bring a couple, but I'll probably just mostly bring my Kindle to read. So, all right, now I'm off to Target. I just saw the cutest little dachshunds. Oh my gosh. I grew up with dachshunds. I had 2 long hair. They died like 8 years ago. But yeah, I just saw a couple. A guy was walking them on the sidewalk and they barked at the traffic. And the barks are exactly the same as what I remember mine having. They were so cute. Back home, got my Starbucks. I did not mean to order an iced. Like in my mind, I knew I wanted the, what is it? The brown sugar, oat milk, shaken espresso. And on the menu, it says iced. In my mind, I'm like, oh, I want that hot. I didn't tell the barista I wanted it hot. It still tastes good. Target was so busy. Oh my gosh. My social anxiety was very proud of myself. Even though there was a sale on books at Target, I did not buy any, so go me. And while I was sitting in the drive-thru at Starbucks waiting for my coffee for probably a good 20 minutes, if not more, I was listening to Book Lovers on audio. I'm pushing 50% now. I don't know. I still I like the banter. I do like the banter. I know that that's something that a lot of people have said about what they like about Emily Henry's writing. So I do like that. I really like Libby. She seems like a cool person. And so the dynamic between Nora and Libby is pretty cool. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing the hype with Emily Henry. I have about 100 pages left of this, and I am liking it better. I'm definitely liking it better. I still really like, the banter between the characters. I really like Charlie. He just seems like a really cool guy, like really sweet, and just the way that he talks about Nora, I don't know. He seems like a really nice guy. Interestingly, I don't know why, and I know the appearance doesn't quite match up, but for Nora and Charlie, I'm picturing 27 Dresses. So Katherine Heigl and James Marsden. And then for Libby, I'm picturing Alice from Twilight. Just because she's so optimistic and happy and peppy. About halfway through, Nora and Charlie make a deal. And I feel like since that kind of raised the stakes a little bit, my investment in the story increased as well. I really like Charlie, especially since I'm picturing him as James Marsden. I like him a lot. There was just a part in the book talking about, I don't want to give anything away, but essentially there was talk about parents and, seeing your dad, growing up, seeing your dad being this strong, masculine individual. And then when your dad gets older, that kind of hit home a little bit. It is hard to watch your parents get older. Somebody that you've known your whole life who is strong and invincible in your eyes, there to protect you. And it's just hard when they get older and you're, sorry. It's just hard to see parents get older. So, anyways, I think I will finish this tonight. I'm flying through it pretty well. I just made dinner. So yeah, I'm gonna keep going. I think I get the hype. This was not a 5-star, but I get the hype. I really do. I finished the book last night. The ending totally got me, and I want to see this as a movie so badly. Quick recap of what this book is about. Nora and her sister Libby live in New York City. They were raised there by their mom, who passed a while back. The city of New York City was always really important to the girls growing up. A lot of their memories with childhood, specifically for Nora, a lot of the memories that she has growing up are centered around New York City and walking down the street, being one of the millions of people walking down the street, being one of the hundreds of thousands of people, on the subway. She's a city girl through and through. And she works as a literary agent. Her sister Libby is pregnant. She's married. She has 2 other kids. She's pregnant with her 3rd child. And she kind of up and decides that she and Nora need to go have a vacation, just the 2 of them. So they go to this place in North Carolina called Sunshine Falls, and Libby creates this list, tasks on a list that Nora has to complete, go out with a local, save a local business, ride a horse. Nora actually runs into Charlie, who is, I can't remember if he's also an agent or if he's an editor or something like that, but he's also in the publishing industry in New York City. They've had a couple run-ins. So that's kind of how their relationship kind of starts is, they meet in this place that Nora didn't think that she would see anybody that she knows in this town. Over the course of the book, they get to know each other. They do kind of strike a bit of a deal, which I did like. That's kind of when I started getting invested in the story. It doesn't happen till halfway through, but they do strike a deal, so it ups the stakes a little bit. I really like Nora and Libby's dynamic, and I did like their interactions, their banter back and forth. I loved the love interest, Charlie. He is such a good guy, and I feel like that's really what kind of makes or breaks a romance novel, is the love interest, and like how much that you as the reader fall in love with the love interest. Yeah, that was really good. And then, I mean, there's some deeper themes of the book. Like I discussed earlier, there's talk of you are now an adult and your parents are getting older. Again, not necessarily just them getting sick, but just, you know, parents getting older, maybe not having the energy they once had, maybe not having the ambition or the drive that they once had, maybe needing more help, things like that. So there's definitely like some deeper, more emotional themes that go on in this book. I didn't cry reading the book, but in my update last night, I got a little teary-eyed kind of talking about it. I get the hype. I was definitely pulled into this story. It did take me about halfway. It took me about halfway before I really felt invested in the book. So because of that, I'm not gonna give it 5 stars. I gave it 4 stars. That's still a phenomenal rating, honestly. Some things that I didn't like I said, it took me about halfway before I really felt like I was getting into the book. When Nora and Charlie kind of first see each other and they first start talking, it seemed to like go from we're kind of strangers, we work in the same industry, but we don't really like each other, to, oh, we're friends, I like you, you're attractive. That transition, it just kind of, it happened so quickly. I feel like I feel like it wasn't like a very organic flow. It was just like a switch was flipped. So that was a little hard for me to kind of wrap my brain around. This, I think, would be a really good book for people who love books, because there's lots of talk of writing and storytelling and just books, like the physical, like a physical book in and of itself, like the pages, the way it smells, the way they sit on a shelf. And then also people who love the big city, because there's lots of romanticizing of New York City, or, you know, big cities in general. My first Emily Henry experience, I would say, was a success. 4 out of 5 stars. Great writing. I love the characters. I think next I'm reading Beach Read, so I'm excited to see how that one goes for me. So I just started reading Beach Read. I'm only about 38 pages into it. I am liking it so far, and interestingly, it takes place in Michigan, which I think I'd heard when the book first came out. The town that it takes place in is North Bear Shores, Michigan, which is not a real town, but I looked it up, and Emily Henry actually said that the town is kind of made up of elements of Grand Haven, Holland, and Saugatuck. And those are 3 towns that are all on the west side of Michigan on Lake Michigan, which are about 2 hours, 3 hours south of where I live. And they talk about U of M, which is University of Michigan. I'm enjoying it so far. Today is Nick's birthday, so we're just hanging out, soaking up some sun. We'll probably head to the pool again today. And then, of course, happy hour and dinner later on to celebrate. Hello, friends. I've really had to sit with this, and I think that my final rating is 4.5. I really did like it, and I liked it more than Book Lovers. It doesn't feel like a 5-star read to me. I don't really know what could have made it a 5-star. I think for what it was, it did the best that it could do, if that makes sense. And for those of you that don't know, there's actually a lot that happens in this book that is not even slightly hinted at in the synopsis. Augustus, or Gus, or Everett, whatever you want to call him, he is like a literary author. January is a romance author. They knew each other back in college. They had like some of the same writing classes, and they were kind of enemies, or at least that's how January interpreted it, was that they didn't get along. She's staying at this house in Michigan, and her next door neighbor turns out to be Everett. It's like a small town vibe. They're neighbors, they cross paths in town. Other things happen. and they end up striking this deal that they would switch genres. Everett has to write a romance novel, and January has to write a literary fiction novel. Whoever sells their book first, or whoever sells the best, or something like that, win the deal, essentially. And the other person has to fully endorse that book. I liked the characters. There's a character in town, Pete, and she hosts, so, okay, she's like the cafe owner, she's like the bookstore owner, and she hosts this, oh, let me try to remember it. Something about red, white, and blue, but the white is White Russian, so it's like this book club, and all they do is read like Russian spy novels or something like that. So they drink White Russians. That's like the first drink of the evening. Really liked Pete's character. She was pretty awesome. So I think the characters were really well done. I think the plot was really well done. There's like a cult kind of thrown in here, which is in the synopsis, yet I guess I didn't realize, or it took me by surprise. So that was kind of interesting. It added a little bit of like a darker vibe to the book, made it feel more real and emotional. I think I already talked about the town in Michigan that this takes place in. Everett and January had to travel to a couple places as like research for Everett's book, and the places that they traveled to, they were actual towns in Michigan. Everywhere that they are going is an hour to 2 hours from where I live. So like the scenery that they're talking about, Lake Michigan, the beaches, like that's all very familiar to me. So I appreciated that. So what I ended up doing, because I started reading this in Arizona.
Mom?
Yeah.
I want to play on my Nintendo.
Okay. Close your door, please. But yeah, so obviously started reading this in Arizona while we were there for Thanksgiving and Nick's birthday. I did read this on the plane, and then I finished reading it in the car on the drive home. I definitely feel like I flew through it, so it definitely held my interest. Overall, 4.5 stars, and in my Emily Henry ranking, this is now in first place. I will update you once I start reading this. Me to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. Today's the day. Emily Henry's new book, Happy Place, came out. I just went to my kid's school because my oldest had a music performance for his grade. And then I had to get an oil change, and now I'm headed to the library. I'm gonna see if I can nab a copy from there, because I already have it on audio, but I wanna have a physical copy, but I don't necessarily wanna buy it, especially because I heard it's only being released in hardcover right now. I'm gonna swing by the library, see if I can find it. I also wanna look for Abby Jimenez's, the new Abby Jimenez, yours truly. I'm gonna see if I can get a copy of that as well. If I can't find either of those at the library, then the next stop is the bookstore. It has been acquired. I walked in and there were 2 copies sitting there. I quickly grabbed one, and because of how quickly I grabbed it, there was another lady standing at the same shelf, and she's like, oh, is that supposed to be a good one? I'm like, yes, and it just came out today. And she picked it up and read the synopsis, and she's like, oh, that sounds like it could be good. but then she put it back, so. Did not find Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez, but that's okay. I'm not gonna go to the bookstore and get it. I'll hopefully snag that from the library at a later time, because obviously this is the one that I really came here for. So yeah, I have it for 2 weeks. Hopefully it won't take me that long to read it. I still have to read People Will Meet on Vacation, so hopefully I will read that. I'll start that. I'll finish that one sometime this week. Start and finish that one sometime this week. And then I'll read Happy Place, hopefully this weekend, and get this vlog finally finished. So it is Tuesday, April 25th. As I said, I do still have to read this one. I kept meaning to, and then it just, not that it didn't ever sound good, it just, I don't know, I didn't feel like I was in the mood for it. But anyways, I'm gonna start this one today, hopefully right now, so that I can read and finish this. I'd like to have this done by the weekend. It's not like the prettiest smoothie. I had a stressful morning. Needless to say, I had to take some of my anti-anxiety meds. Ugh, I don't know if it's the medication, because I mean, I don't take it very often, but it definitely has an effect on me. So I think between that and having been so stressed, plus I haven't really eaten anything super healthy all day. I need nutrition. So I ran downstairs and made this smoothie. It's banana, pineapple, Greek yogurt, almond milk, spirulina, a little bit of ginger, oh, and protein powder. I use, I think, pea protein powder, I think it is. There I go with my tangents again. I started People Will Meet on Vacation last night. I started it like in the early evening, and then I was reading it while Kendall from Bookphoria, she was having some sprints, so I joined them in the chat, and I was doing reading while that was going on as well. So at this point, I'm 116 pages. I'm on chapter 12, and I'm liking this. So I don't remember what I rated the other 2 books, because it's been a while. Gosh, I think I finished Beach Read back in November, and I read Book Lovers before that. And it's April now, almost May. So it's been a while, I don't really remember. But I'm kind of getting the impression that while I like Emily Henry's writing, and I like the banter, and it's so easy to kind of fall into the story and kind of find your footing in the flow of things, I don't know that it's ever going to be a romance that I would give 5 stars, because I think for me to give a romance 5 stars, I think I need to really like fall for the love interest, and so far that hasn't really happened in her books. I like both of the characters. I actually relate quite a bit to both of them. I think Poppy, well, I guess let me tell you what the story's about. So Poppy and Alex, they met 12 years ago at university, and because I think from the same hometown in Ohio, but they go to school in Chicago. They like met at orientation, and then something happened. Well, not something happened, but they were going home for a break, and I think Poppy needed a ride home. And because Alex was going the same direction, he ended up riding with her, or she ended up riding with him. And that's kind of where their friendship began. And eventually they got into this rhythm of every summer they would take a vacation together. And that was just kind of their thing. I do like the fact that the book is not just present day. We have chapters of this summer, but then we have chapters of 12 summers ago, 11 summers ago, 10 summers ago. And it's all going to lead up to the summer 2 years ago when they went to Croatia. And apparently something happened that made them kind of stop being friends. So in present day, Poppy asks him kind of out of the blue. Well, not really out of the blue. She starts talking to him out of the blue again because she'd been thinking of him. She misses him. As they're chatting, she kind of presented to him like, hey, do you want to do one of our trips? And he agreed. So that's kind of how it's going right now. So you're with them in their current trip, which is super awkward because they hadn't seen each other in 2 years, and they'd only just kind of reconnected and started talking via text. But then, like I said, you also get the flashbacks to other summers and when they were really, really good and their bond was really strong. But Poppy, she's very like kind of chaotic and outgoing. Meanwhile, Alex, he's much more reserved and quiet and level-headed. I mean, they're like the epitome of opposites. I do really like Poppy's job is kind of my dream job. Probably not like my realistic dream job, but I remember specifically, I don't know, I was probably like 16, 17, 18, somewhere around there. And I wanted to be a travel journalist. I wanted to work for some sort of travel publication, and I wanted to get paid to take vacations and write about it and experience things all over the world. But I'm not that outgoing. So being thrust into new situations like that, it's actually kind of painful, physically and emotionally painful. That's Poppy's job. She's a travel journalist. I'm fully enjoying this, and I anticipate it being at least 4 stars. I really do hope that this book or Happy Place will like wow me, because I really want to be wowed by Emily Henry. I mean, I've heard so many good things and I've seen good things, just I guess not what I was expecting. So I just got to my parents' house. My oldest, his birthday is on Saturday, but he's going to be with his dad, and tomorrow I have to go downstate for a work event, so we can't celebrate his birthday tomorrow, so we have to do it today, which is Wednesday. My parents wanted to host it this year. We're gonna have sliders and cupcakes and onion rings, and we're gonna open presents. It should be fun. After work, while I was trying to get stuff ready to go and I had a few things that I had to pick up in town, I was listening more to People Who Meet on Vacation. And I'm not sure, I'm on chapter 17. I don't know where that is in the book because Audible doesn't display like the percentage completion for some reason, at least that I've been able to see. Maybe I'm not liking this as much as I thought I was, because the flashbacks they kind of feel like the same thing. I mean, yes, we're learning a little bit more about Alex and Poppy and their history together, getting a bigger picture of what their friendship has been like over the years. I don't know, like, I don't want to say it feels repetitive, because it's different stuff happening for the most part. In the present day stuff, I'm definitely starting to get a little irritated, get a little frustrated. Like, it's obvious that these two belong together. It's obvious that they've both been in love with each other for years, and the fact that they will not admit that to themselves is just frustrating. I don't think friends to lovers is a trope that I particularly like. I prefer enemies to lovers. That's probably my favorite. I don't think that this is going to be my favorite Emily Henry. I think right now it's still going to be Beach Read. On my drive tomorrow, because it's 3.5 hours down and then 3.5 hours back. So I have a good 6 or 7 hours of drive time that I need to occupy myself with. So I've got the audiobook, obviously, for People Who Meet on Vacation. I don't want to start Happy Place while I'm driving, though. I want to save that for this weekend. So I'll probably read something else. I'm in the middle of The Maidens and still in the middle of The Time Traveler's Wife, which I've been just slowly getting through. That one's a reread for me. Okay, bye. I made it to my destination. It is Thursday, and we have a work, brunch, lunch thing type meeting. So, and it's actually the same place that we went to for our Christmas party. So I'm excited about that because the food was really good. So I listened to People Who Meet on Vacation the entire way down, a good 3 hours. I'm almost done. I still have like 35 minutes left of the audiobook. So I'll be able to finish it on my way back, and then I can listen to something else. I'm liking it. I am. I still don't I don't get butterflies over Alex, but I really like Alex and Poppy together, and I really like the love scenes that Emily Henry does, because they're just enough to kind of give you butterflies, but not enough to, you know, make you feel embarrassed. The third act breakup, I usually hate it, and like this one in particular is super frustrating. I've got 35 minutes left, so I'm sure in the next 25 to 30 minutes of listening everything will be resolved and they'll get their happy ending. As of right now, it's sitting at a strong 4. I don't really see that changing. Definitely not 5-star, but you know what? That is okay. 4 stars, still a book that I really enjoyed and would certainly recommend other people read. I'm going to go inside and eat and mingle with my coworkers that I haven't seen since Christmas. I will probably catch you up when I get back home tonight. It's been a couple days now since I finished this. I finished it Thursday on my way back to town from my work lunch meeting, and it's now Saturday. I've had a couple days to think about it. I am sticking with 4 stars. What I had envisioned in my mind how this book would turn out isn't really how it turned out. It was a lot different than I expected. I don't think Friends to Lovers is a trope that I really enjoy. I don't know that I've ever read it before either, but that is definitely what this is. There's also kind of like a one bed trope. The flashbacks, there's the then and the now. Usually I like, but I don't think either of these did that. I think these were all in the present. And I kind of think that for romance, I prefer that. I think I prefer in the present rather than like back and forth. Except no, that's not true, because in Love and Other Words, I loved that. I don't know. I just don't think it worked for me in this one. I mean, obviously we needed the past chapters to kind of show us, you know, their history together and how they became friends, how their dynamic was when they were really good friends, what happened to kind of make them have a falling out. And honestly, like the third act breakup in this one, I think I mentioned this before too, it frustrated me. I understand, like, when you fall in love with your best friend and you really, really cherish that relationship, you don't want to mess with the friendship, because obviously if you get into a romantic relationship and it doesn't work out, you can't really just go back to being friends. So I do get that. And I was trying to put myself in that headspace of this is why they're holding back so much, at the same time as the reader knowing how it's going to end anyways. It was just very frustrating to get through. Some things that I did really like about it. I liked the vacation aspect. It wasn't as atmospheric in that sense as I was hoping, and it definitely wasn't all tropical. I mean, they visited multiple places. It took me off guard. Like, I know this is called People We Meet on Vacation, yet I was still surprised at the emphasis on, you know, the other people that they came across and how those people that they met on vacation impacted their experiences. It took me off guard, and I don't know why, because that's literally the name of the book. So I loved Swapna, and I loved Rachel. I think it's Rachel, who is Poppy's like work bestie. They were both great characters, super supportive, super like and lifting. They are the kind of women that lift up other women. So I loved that. But Swapna specifically, being a boss. So at one point in this book, Poppy gets sick and it kind of messes with a work assignment that she had going. And she was terrified to tell her boss about it, about having to like cancel things because it was already paid for. And Swapna was like, girl, do you think that the men in this office apologize to me when they get sick? No, they do not. Like, you're sick. You can't control it. It's not your fault. So stop apologizing. Like, don't apologize for something you have literally no control over. And it was just such like a moment. Like, yes. That is such a good point, because I do the same thing. Like when I'm sick or when I have to take time off, I'm so apologetic about it. And it's so true. It's like, why do we apologize for that? When did that become the norm? Why do we think that's okay? I loved that. Absolutely loved that. And then there's a lot of talk in here about like millennial ennui, which I feel like I relate to, but not in the way that they're talking about in this book. So in this book, they're talking about millennial ennui because like once you get to a certain point in your 30s, you've accomplished your big life goals, and now you're like, well, now what do I do with myself? You know, what do I have to work towards? So I don't relate to it in that sense. I relate to it in the realistic sense of, I don't know, my circumstances kind of preventing me from being able to pursue my dreams. And I'm not talking about having kids. I'm talking about, you know, my financial status, and the country I became educated in required a massive paycheck to receive said education. And now I'm going to be paying that off until I'm 80 years old. Just being limited in that respect. And it's like, the job that I have, or the jobs that I feel I qualify for, they don't really align with the price of the education that I received. The writing is good. I love the characters that Emily Henry does, the banter between the main characters, and just how much I'm pulled in by the writing. So that is definitely 4-star worthy. Of the Emily Henry books that I have now read, this is my current ranking. Beach Read I gave 4.5 stars, Book Lovers I gave 4 stars, and People Meet on Vacation I gave 4 stars. And I do think I liked Book Lovers a little bit more because the small town setting, the sister dynamic, and the fact that it's enemies to lovers. And then this one, enemies to lovers, the small town feel, so much of this took place close to where I live, so I felt that connection to it. Now I get to start this finally. Based on the reviews that I've seen of this, based on what I've heard, so we've got Second Chance Romance, which not my favorite, but you know, I like it just fine. The location sounds phenomenal, sounds very summery, sounds like it'll be very atmospheric, especially with like the seafood, the wine, the cheese. The friendship groups, I really like tightly knit friendship groups and kind of like that found family feel. I don't know. I mean, I feel like it could be going neck and neck with Beach Read, honestly. I would like to believe that this will finally be my first 5-star from Emily Henry. I don't know. We'll see.
I said the last drink was the last drink. You make it hard to leave. We're telling secrets in the dark while drinking whiskey neat. I would fall in a second if you let me, 'cause you're all that I want. Could you let me in? The last drink was the last drink, but I don't want to leave.
So this morning I took myself to breakfast, did a little bit of grocery shopping, and then I came home and I got everything put away. And then I went for a walk while I was listening. Oh, while I was at breakfast, I was reading Happy Place. I was listening to it while I was on my walk. I'm 100 pages into this. I'm liking it. We have Harriet, who is I think she's still doing her residency. She's a neurosurgeon. She's living in, I think, San Francisco. And in college, that's how she met her best friends, Cleo and Sabrina. And they hit it off like right off the bat. After the first week, they were like this. And I love that. That was not my experience in college until my very last year. Can't say that I relate. And it is Sabrina's family who owns this cabin cottage in Maine. So they started I think every summer. I'm not sure when in the summer, but every year they have started to come together. We're in present day where Harriet and Wynn they were engaged, but for the last 5 months they've been broken up. None of the other friends know that, of course. So on this trip, Wynn wasn't going to go. He was not going to go on this trip. But Sabrina and Parth convinced him. They're like, this is going to be a really important trip. We need you here. He ended up going, and Harriet is, of course, the last one to arrive, and she was not expecting him to be there. This is going to be the last summer that they're able to go to this cottage. Wynn and Harriet, of course, don't want to ruin this last hurrah. They decide to keep the fact that they broke up a secret from everybody else. So we're getting some present day stuff, and then we're also getting peeks into the past. It's not as back and forth as what was in People Meet on Vacation, because that was, not that that was hard to follow, that was just jumped around a lot. Whereas this one, it's kind of like, it just works better in this one. I don't know why, it just does.
I wanna get closer. Don't want this night to be over.
I finished this last night. I actually did sprints yesterday with Rachel over at Happy Go Lovely Sleeves and Liv over at Liv's Library. Got a lot of reading done yesterday. I almost finished this book on sprints, but I had like an hour left in the audiobook. So after we said goodbye and everything, I just kept going. I finished it. I loved it. This is 5 stars. This is officially my favorite Emily Henry. I'm so happy. Literally no complaints. No complaints whatsoever. This book is perfect. That's all there is to it. First of all, in all of these books, we have Alex, we have Charlie, we have Gus, okay? These are great guys. I'm not arguing that fact. They're super sweet, but I myself was never like, please be my new fictional boyfriend. I loved them for Poppy and for Nora and for January, not for myself. Wyndham Connor, on the other hand, fictional boyfriend. I think it was Parth who kind of compared Wynn to like I want to find the line, something about like a broody motorcycle gang leader. And as soon as he said that, I immediately started picturing Jax Teller from Sons of Anarchy. And it was kind of towards the beginning. So for majority of the book, that's who I pictured. And it was amazing. Over the sweating lip of his margarita glass, Parts says, he looks like he's the tormented leader of a motorcycle gang. Jax Teller. For reference, that's chapter 12, page 136. Also, like the constant discussion about finding your happy place and putting your happiness over literally everything else. The wants and desires of other people, or the expectations that other people put upon you, putting happiness over what you think you should be doing, or whether it's for money or for clout or for pleasing somebody else. And I really like that. That speaks to me so much. The overall message of this book was amazing. And I love the friends group. The found family feelings are amazing, and just their dynamics together. I loved this. I loved this so much. And oh my goodness, the tension in this is exceptional. And so as far as tropes, there's a lot of tropes in here, okay? There's second chance romance, fake dating, the one bed trope. I would say enemies to lovers. And I loved that. It was fun. I'm just so happy. I'm so happy. This vlog could not have gone any better, honestly. The final rankings of the 4 Emily Henry romance books are Happy Place at number 1 with 5 stars, Beach Read at number 2 with 4.5 stars, Book Lovers at number 3 at 4 stars, and People Meet on Vacation in last place, also with 4 stars. By the way, this is probably between this and Akawar currently for favorite read of 2023. Honestly, it's probably going to be this because it's a new release. So as of right now, I think this might be my favorite book of the year. Thank you so much. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Did we agree on books? Did we have completely different ideas? Let me know, especially with your rankings. How did we rank? Similarly, differently? I feel like this one is at the bottom of most people's list, but I think these two kind of are interchangeable. I think for the most part, Book Lovers is a lot of people's favorite. That is until they read Happy Place. I don't know. Let's find out. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Until next time. Bye.